From the first moment the world laid eyes on Winona Ryder, Hollywood knew she was different. Not polished, not manufactured, not afraid to be strange, emotional, or beautifully messy. She was the girl who made vulnerability cool, who made weird iconic, and who turned a generation's quiet angst into something bold, cinematic, and unforgettable. Tonight, we're unlocking the long, winding journey of the girl once known as Hollywood's Little Rebel, and who ultimately became its eternal comeback queen. Long before she became the fierce and frantic mother screaming for her son in Stranger Things, a young Winona Ryder stood in front of cameras trembling with excitement. She had been acting since the age of 12, diving straight into the world of movies long before she knew what fame really meant. And when she spoke at those early interviews, nervous, shy, full of dreams, she didn't sound like a future movie star. She sounded like a kid with a beating heart, desperate to prove something to the world and maybe even to herself. Her career launched with films like Lucas, where she played the introverted girl who loved the wrong boy. But her true breakthrough came when quirky became her superpower, when shadows became her playground, and when playing odd, dark, melancholy characters began to feel like destiny. That destiny arrived wrapped in striped suits and supernatural chaos, Beetlejuice. Her role as the morbid, misunderstood Lydia Dietz turned her into the emblem of every outsider kid in the 80s. And fans felt seen because Winona herself knew exactly what it meant to feel out of place. Behind the scenes of Beetlejuice, she was learning from giants like Michael Keaton, Alec Baldwin, and visionary director Tim Burton, who would become one of the most influential people in her artistic life. She remembered the set as a playground of imagination, a cinematic fever dream where ghosts, dinner table possessions, and wild creativity shaped her into something Hollywood hadn't seen before. A teen star who didn't want to be glamorous or perfect, but real. After that, Winona wasn't just a rising star, she was becoming a cultural force. But her rebellious streak wasn't an act. When the script for Heathers crossed her path, her own agent begged her not to take it. They warned it would ruin her career, destroy her image, and brand her as too dark. But Winona wasn't afraid. She had always chosen roles that scared her, that challenged her, and that made people uncomfortable. So she said yes. And Heathers became a cult classic, a savage and brilliant take on teen social hierarchies that cemented her as the bold new voice of Hollywood youth. During this era, Winona also entered one of the most iconic celebrity romances of the 1990s, her whirlwind relationship with Johnny Depp, whom she met at the premiere of Great Balls of Fire when she was just 17. Their love took the world by storm. Soon after, Johnny had Winona Forever tattooed on his arm, a gesture that the press devoured and fans immortalized. They were the goth fairy tale couple the world couldn't stop talking about. The brooding young actor and the quirky, doe-eyed starlet whose on-screen emotions were as intense as her real-life passion, but the spotlight burned too hot. By 1993, under relentless media pressure, the couple broke apart, and while the world saw the headlines, Winona lived the heartbreak. Years later, she admitted that it was one of the darkest chapters of her life, saying it felt like living inside her own personal version of Girl. Interrupted. She was drained, isolated, and struggling quietly, far away from the glamorous image Hollywood wanted to project. Yet even in heartbreak, she kept working. She poured her emotions into movies that would define her legacy. Her role in The Age of Innocence, directed by Martin Scorsese, earned her first Oscar nomination. She followed it with Little Women, a film that earned her a second nomination and showcased her ability to embody a generation's hopes and dreams. By the mid-90s, she was the face of a new era. Her performance in Reality Bites turned her into the voice of Generation X, while Alien Resurrection pushed her physically and emotionally, forcing her to face traumatic memories of nearly drowning as a child. But behind the success was a young woman who was still searching for stability, belonging, and healing. Hollywood romances came and went, like her relationships with Dave Pirner and later Matt Damon, introduced to her through Gwyneth Paltrow. And while the press obsessed over every boyfriend, every red carpet appearance, and every whispered rumor, Winona remained private, thoughtful, and far more fragile than the public ever knew. Then came the scandal that changed everything. In 2001, the world watched as Winona Ryder was arrested for shoplifting thousands of dollars in merchandise from Saks Fifth Avenue in Beverly Hills. It was front-page news, a beloved Hollywood icon caught in the act. Cameras followed her into court. Headlines screamed betrayal, and Winona's once golden image began to crumble. But the truth, as it often is in celebrity culture, was more complicated. Winona was battling deep emotional wounds, dealing with physical pain from a broken arm, and was reportedly overprescribed painkillers that left her dazed, confused, and disconnected from her own judgment. Even so, the industry didn't care. Hollywood turned its back. Studios deemed her uninsurable. Projects dried up, doors closed, and the girl who once defined an entire generation simply disappeared from screens.
Her sentencing, probation, community service, counseling became a brutal reminder of how fast Hollywood can abandon the people it once worshipped. She tried to laugh about it on SNL, but behind the jokes was a woman trying to put her life back together, piece by broken piece. It took nearly 4 years for Winona to return. Slowly, quietly, cautiously, films like A Scanner Darkly, working again with her longtime friend Keanu Reeves, helped her rebuild her confidence. She took a hauntingly graceful role as the aging ballerina in Black Swan, a performance that strangely mirrored her own career a former Inessa. You're watching the next generation take the spotlight, but instead of bitterness, she brought depth, heartbreak, and soul to the role. And then, in 2016, a miracle happened, a role unlike anything she'd played before. A chance at redemption, a chance at reinvention, a chance at rebirth. Stranger Things. When Winona stepped into the shoes of Joyce Byers, she wasn't just returning to acting. She was reclaiming her identity, the raw desperation in her voice as she screamed, "Give me back my son," reminded the world exactly why we fell in love with her decades earlier. She brought heart, chaos, empathy, and that signature Winona intensity to every moment, and audiences couldn't look away. The show became a worldwide phenomenon. Kids who had never heard of Beetlejuice, Heathers, or Edward Scissorhands suddenly saw Winona Ryder as the mother of the decade fierce, flawed, brilliant, and unforgettable. The cast adored her, fans worshipped her, and Hollywood welcomed her home. Her emotional reaction at the SAG Awards, where the cast won for Best Ensemble, became an instant meme, 1,000 facial expressions in 1 minute shot. Joy, confusion, awe, but beneath the jokes was something beautiful. The moment a woman who once thought her career was over realized that millions of people were cheering her name again. And as the world demanded more of her, Winona had one request written into her contract, that she be allowed to take time off to film the long-awaited Beetlejuice sequel, the movie that launched her legend. And when she reunited with Catherine O'Hara and welcomed rising star Jenna Ortega into the fold, she broke down in tears. She had waited decades for this moment, and now it was here. Through heartbreak, scandal, ridicule, and reinvention, Winona Ryder never stopped fighting. She never stopped feeling. She never stopped believing in the thing she loved most, acting. And today, she stands as living proof that Hollywood may break you, but it can never take away your spark if you refuse to let it die. And so, from child star to cult icon, from scandal to redemption, from Hollywood rebel to comeback queen, one thing about Winona Ryder has never changed. She is, and always will be, the beating heart of every misfit who dares to dream.